Welcome back, everyone. So, it's time for another roundup where Sony have raised a few eyebrows, to say the least. We've also got some dramatic personnel changes over at Activision Blizzard, with EA fighting them a bit, so that's fun. CD Projekt Red have had all of their beans spilled, plus a whole bunch more. So, you know what? For today's video, let's just get straight into it with Sony. Alright, so we've got larger Sony things planned for next week, but for now, we're just going to run you through quickfire style what's up. Now, the big news is that Gran Turismo 7 and God of War Ragnarok are in development for the PS4 as well. So add in Horizon Forbidden West and Miles Morales, and yes, almost all of Sony's major titles are actually releasing across 2 generations. Now, why is that dramatic and why are people pissed? Well, it's a serious departure from some of Sony's marketing, where in the past they said that they believed in generations, that their games were really PS5 first, convincing people that PS5 games are true next-gen. Of course, Microsoft went very heavily in the cross-generation direction, so Sony basically marketed the opposite as a selling point. Yet a year later, we've now got Sony confirming that that's not the case. Now, what of those games that I mentioned is SSD dependent? I mean, we've got, say, Ratchet & Clank, we've got Pixel Opus's new project, but the rest of the games seem to be very cross-gen. Now, some people feel betrayed at this, not least because God of War was teased as a reason to buy a PS5, yet now it is cross-gen and 2022. Now, of course, some people took the complaining a bit too far here. Cory Balrog, the game director of God of War, had to basically take responsibility for the delay in a bunch of stuff after loads of shit was hurled at a fellow dev. The internet. Now look, this whole thing is really simple, actually. I don't think there needs to be a big drama. Basically, the mechanics of Ratchet & Clank require the new SSD. The game's design literally wouldn't be possible. It wouldn't function without that SSD. Now you take Horizon and God of War. Well, whether they load instantly or not, it doesn't really matter. Load time is not core to the design. Sure, maybe your fast travel involves a longer load screen. Whatever, doesn't matter. Just like how, say, in Spider-Man Miles Morales, there's basically no loading time in the PS5, but there is in the PS4. Either way, though, the game is basically fine. The more powerful console just lets them do higher frame rate, more cool visuals. That's that. So the SSD basically isn't vital to the games that are going cross-gen. I think that's why it's okay for them to be cross-gen, especially when Sony obviously won't want to ignore an install base of 110 million people. It's then just a question of, does cross-gen actually hold stuff back? In some cases, you could make that argument, but in others, it's like they're doing like different rendering technology for, I think, the water in Horizon on both gens. That should mean that the next-gen stuff is basically fine. So overall here, Sony's reasoning actually makes complete sense, but it does reveal how hollow their marketing speak actually was, which is bad and should make us trust what they say a little bit less. Elsewhere then, we learned that Bend Studio are actually working on a new IP that builds on Days Gone, while absolutely not being a sequel to Days Gone. Sony sorted that a while back, so something's up there. Then also, the Astro's Playroom team is being made into a full studio, so that's kind of neat. And the studio's boss actually did say that he was excited for Sony in Asia, so maybe that meets some of the criticisms we had in the past. Who knows? Finally then, good PlayStation PC news, where basically they said that PlayStation will be, quote, the best place to play the first-party titles, but that PC is becoming important as well, and that Sony is going to, as they say, look at the right time to launch each game. Basically, they're being more publicly okay with their games being on PC, which is pretty sweet. That said, though, Ratchet probably won't take kindly to a hard disk or even a SATA SSD, so I wonder if that's even possible. Shooter time then. So, in a surprising twist, EA have reportedly poached Call of Duty's general manager in order to head up the Battlefield franchise. So that's pretty big. Now, EA say that this represents their strategic, long-term commitment to the expansion of the franchise. Oh, PR speak. But basically, this guy, Byron Beatty, spent 12 years at Activision. And over that time in Activision, he served as the executive vice president and general manager of Bungie before overseeing the release of CoD Mobile and Warzone. and he's going to be a direct report to Vince Zampella of Respawn. So it seems like decent news, I guess. Means obviously Call of Duty's loss and Battlefield's win. As for that, Battlefield 6 is revealed June 9th, so I guess we'll see the scope of that game soon. It really does make you wonder if things could go in EA's favor for this year's big CoD Battlefield showdown. I mean, we've heard iffy things about Vanguard, right? They've also lost a high-up guy with Byron. They also lost the design and narrative directors on, from Infinity Ward that worked on Modern Warfare. And this is all going on while EA have spent, I think, a bit longer, put a bit more resources than usual into a Battlefield that seems to be a response to Battlefield 5 messing it all up. Now, I love competition, and I love Battlefield, so does have me hoping that this one's going to be a winner. Next then, things might get a whole bunch worse for CD Projekt Red. So, this probably slipped your mind completely because it was a while ago, but of course CD Projekt Red suffered a cyber attack in February, and they confirmed that certain data was stolen. That data is actually believed to be the source code for their engine and their games. Which is ouch. Now, the hackers tried to ransom CD Projekt Red, they failed, they then auctioned it on the dark web for a buy it now price of $7 million, but then the seller pulled the whole lot of it following an outside offer. And now apparently that data is making the rounds online, where there are files that are password protected, where people can reportedly buy the passwords for $10. Now, the group responsible for the leak are allegedly sharing dev kits for PS4, PS5, and Xbox Series X without the password protection, basically just in order to prove their legitimacy, and a few Reset Era posters have claimed to have received the files. So that's that. It's basically out in the wild. And I think for me, I'm just wondering, what will the data mining reveal? Because sometimes things get cut in production for completely regular reasons or feasibility or whatever. People often struggle to see those glimpses into development, I think, in a reasonable way. So I've got to wonder what happens when Cyberpunk is data mined and we get to see a look at the content graveyard, and if that means that people end up being pissed, and then if CDPR have got a big PR fire to put out. Hard to say. Alright, quick fire time. So, E3 is around the corner, and they've confirmed that it's going to end with an awards ceremony. Yawn, I don't care. Awards ceremonies suck, but maybe there'll be some sort of reveal at it. Then, speaking of E3, we've got a good few 2K leaks this week, so stuff that could be announced. One is that Firaxis are working on a new game that is codenamed Coda, and apparently that's best described as XCOM, but with Marvel heroes. So there's that, and apparently also a Borderlands spin-off is on the way, and with those things, Jason Schreier has seemingly confirmed the leak on Twitter, so I guess that's that happening. Then, we actually might get a bunch more games, because Dark Horse Comics have actually founded, or formed, a gaming division, and they are in deep talks with indies and AAA devs, so that's kind of neat. Next then, a Crysis Remastered trilogy is going to be coming out this autumn. Basically, it'll include last year's upgraded version of the original game, plus the 2 sequels, though no multiplayer, so I'm not really that excited, and to be honest, I mean, the thing that we liked was Big Forest Playground from Crysis 1. Then the aliens came in and Crysis 1 got worse. And they've basically never really recaptured that. Why not throw us on an island in another Crysis game instead of all these, or maybe these remasters are just them trying to get some more excitement in the IP. Hard to say, but I'd love some old school Crysis 1 gameplay returning. Anyway, speaking of updates and upgrades, No Man's Sky has released its 17th named update, and it's giving the game a pretty serious visual overhaul. Right, bunch of new effects. It's called Prisms, and it's going to improve graphics across the board, and also introduce some alien flying mounts. Looks kind of neat. It's available, of course, on all platforms, with PC and next gen having a few sort of additional bonus upgrades. It's just nice to see that team sticking with the game, so awesome. Next then, a Mass Effect 3 Easter egg has gone unnoticed for 10 whole years, where if you walk through the solar panel array during the Mars mission that's near the start of that game, and if you do it in a certain way, it'll actually summon the Mars rover. And it even works in the Legendary Edition, so that's been discovered. Then, Valorant marked its 1-year anniversary, and to celebrate, Riot have announced it's coming to mobile. So I I imagine a lot of the core shooter audience doesn't really care about that. But they also revealed that on PC, it's got 14 million monthly active users. That's pretty damn big. I think it shows that even though that game didn't have the splash that maybe its beta indicated it would, that it's just went from strength to strength throughout its actual life. Now, what's interesting is that console versions are on the way, but they said that mobile was a better fit, and so it got priority. Mobile being a better fit for a Counter-Strike hero shooter? What? I see that. I don't really see that. But business-wise, and in the realm of getting your MAUs up and making more free-to-play money, yeah, I guess it does make sense. Now, speaking of Riot, a group of ex-developers that does include ex-Blizzard developers, but ex-Riot devs, and a few other companies, they've formed up a company and they've announced an MMO. It's called Palia, and it is a community sim MMO, and the company is called Singularity 6. Do you know what? It looks fucking gorgeous. I don't know, I like it. It just looks cozy and relaxing, you know? If you can get those nice things of sim games, it's the way that even like Valheim can make you feel at home, Stardew Valley can make you feel at home. They can successfully put that into a big MMO. I mean, man, that's actually quite exciting. Next then, Mojang, whatever they're called, they shared that Minecraft Dungeons has surpassed 11.5 million unique users in just 1 year since release, which honestly is it's kind of weird. Those are massive numbers, but also it is Minecraft, but it does make you wonder if Dungeons was a bit of a sleeper hit. I guess Game Pass sort of helps to drive that sort of thing. Then, the ongoing Switch Pro rumor mill. According to that, a reveal could be coming like literally any day now, especially because a French retailer has actually listed it at about €400. Nintendo have got a direct, of course, around E3. That is scheduled for June 15th, and the belief is that an announcement will indeed happen before then. So really the clock is ticking, right? This is exciting. A Switch Pro is a Switch that I could actually be interested in because I'll put it this way. I like my OLED displays. I also like my 60 FPS. It's what I love about loads of Nintendo's first-party titles, but generally performance is not there on the Switch. If a Switch Pro could fix that in docked mode, then I guess as a PC gamer, I'd be very interested. Because like with how it used to be, the sort of patrician way to do gaming was your PlayStation for its exclusives plus PC, well, the Nintendo games you can't get in PC. So I would totally fork out a little bit more money for a Switch that actually has, got the goods in terms of power. Oh, and finally for Nintendo, there are rumors of a new WarioWare game that is, basically it's from a Nintendo server asking if people would consider forking out $50 for a new one. So that can happen as well, be about the same price as Miitopia. Nintendo were quite bad at mysteries, actually. I mean, it's quite a giveaway putting it in that survey. Anyway, there you go. That is it for the news of the gaming. Now, if you would like some cool physical loot, and also the daily briefing, which keeps you up to date on the gaming news every single day, check out the Patreon. That is the place to support what we're doing, and we thank you for it. So, with the news done, that's it for the news. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.